On today's episode of Diksha, we are going to take a look at the principle of karma. So, in our thinking, especially as Hindus, we hear the word sin being used. That a lot of people now, a lot of Hindu people believe that they are sinning, or that if you do something, it's a sin. And I always find this a very funny thing to hear. That a Hindu person would think along the lines of committing a sin, when I think that principle does not exist in Hinduism. The concept of sin is people will say Christianized, but it's actually beyond Christianized. It's when one understands the history of religion, it's what they call Abrahamic belief. Abraham was a prophet in Israel or Palestine or wherever the Jewish religion originated. But basically, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are Abrahamic religions. So they all have the same fundamental structure in terms of their belief system and their way of conducting their, let's say, the setting up of their religion. Hinduism, or Sanatana Dharma, does not have a concept of sin. It has the Sanatana Dharmic principle of karma is what governs, let's say, the Hindu belief system. And even with karma, people relate sin as being the negative effect or a negative result in the karmic cycle. So in the karmic cycle, people tend to think that if I have done something good, I get blessings. And if I have done something bad, I get sin. And that follows karma. That is the karmic, let's say, cycle. So that I should try to do good things, because then I will get good karma. And I should avoid bad things, because then I'll get bad karma. But there's no such thing as good karma and bad karma. Karma is one thing, which is, for every action, basically speaking, for every action, there's a reaction. Now, being a Sanatana Dharmic principle or an eternal truth, we cannot only relate karma to one lifetime, to one scenario, where we see, for example, okay, I stole money from one person, so I built some bad karma, and from that now, I will lose money because I have to lose money because I took money from somebody. In terms of the origination of karma, we have to understand the origination of karma to understand the effect that it will have in the karmic cycle. And, well, when does karma really originate? Well, technically speaking, it originates from the time our conscious being takes a form in the universe, or an energy body. And that could be whatever that is, a soul. As long as we exist in the universe, we exist as energy, and karma begins. And the only time karma ends is when we cease to exist in the energy or in the Shakti aspect of the universe, and we our consciousness dissolves back into the super consciousness. That's the basic karmic principle. So what's going to happen is karma can never be destroyed. Like, we can never get rid of karma. And karma, by its definition, is action. So any form of energy that we express, or any form of energy that we bring forth, brings back an energy response to us. And it's important that we understand what this means. This means my thoughts, my words, my intentions, my actions, physical actions, all these are forms of energy expression. And so all these bring a result. It's not just about physical action. It's about energy put forward, energy returned. The intent we put forward will return something to us, or will return to us. The thoughts we put forward will return to us. The words we put forward will return to us. The actions we put forward return to us. Everything following the cycle of karma returns to us. So it's not just physical, and it's not about relating one incident to another incident. So that's the principle of the origination of karma. Now let's look at the nature of karma. Now, a lot of the common belief is that if I perform an action in this life, if we are following the Sanatan Dharmic line of thought, then I'll have to pay for it in my next life. And, well, that may be true. But it's not the life after this one. And the reason I say that, or the reason it doesn't sound logical that it would be the life directly after this one, is because it's not just about you, it's not just about me. Entire systems have to be in place for our karma to follow through. And so the setting up of that system is what takes time, is what develops over hundreds of years, thousands of years into the future, because the whole system for that energy that we put forward to return to us must be in place for the return to happen. So then we have to look at now, well, who regulates the system? How or what decides when a karmic action returns to us? And this is why I think that we regulate our karmic actions as the individual conscious being. We regulate our own actions. And the reason for that is simple, is that the consciousness, if we look in terms of lifespans, the consciousness is what is one life, to put it simply. From the time it was created to the time it is dissolved into the super consciousness, that's one lifetime for the conscious being. That conscious being knows what it's done, and that conscious being knows what it's doing. And so that consciousness has a desire to make right, or has a desire to correct mistakes from the past, or the conscious being has regrets that it wishes to correct. And this is the driving force, I think, is behind karma. It's not some God giving out a judgment somewhere. It's a principle in the universe that from the time we are created as conscious beings, Our intention is what decides our future. And by having regrets as a conscious being on the level of the conscious, pure conscious state, by having regrets, by having desires, we create what we want, whether it's what we feel we deserve or what we feel we should have a second chance at or what we want to do over. The conscious being is what creates it. Now, in terms of our physical lifetime, which is the birth and death of our current physical body, if what we want to achieve, for example, let's say as a child, playing with other children, I did not fully enjoy my childhood and I wish I had a second childhood. That's a common regret for a lot of people. That they wish they could do over their childhood. But obviously you can't. You can't go back to that time. And it is this regret that feeds the conscious regret feeds our intention for the life that we want to live in the future, which is our next birth, which is what, in terms of the cycle of the dharmic principle of the cycle of births until we become fully aware of our consciousness. So the conscious desire to relive a childhood is what drives us to take birth so that we can relive a childhood. The conscious desire that we may have lived a life where, let's say a marriage where we felt we were not in love and we did it out of duty, but we have this conscious regret that, or desire that, I wish I had fallen in love and gotten married. And as an old person or deathbed, we have this desire, oh, my life would have been perfect if I had only fallen in love. Our conscious desire to have something like that is what ties us to the cycle of birth and death, and to the cycle of birth and death. Now, obviously, as a person, we don't think like this. We think in terms of from when we were born to when we die. That's why I'm making the point that it's our conscious being that has this desire, because as far as the consciousness is concerned, our consciousness, it's still living one life. It's still something that can be done, that can be corrected. And this is where I think the karmic cycle begins, where the law of karma comes into place, that as long as the consciousness has regrets and desires, or believes that it has regrets and desires, that is what generates karma, and that is what generates the life and death cycle. And in understanding this, then we can see where there's no way to relinquish sin, if we want to go back to the definition of sin and blessing. And there's no way to let's say, cash in on blessings. It's rather, as long as we are unaware of our conscious state, or unaware of our consciousness, of who we are, our true nature, as long as we are unaware of that, we go through that cycle haphazardly. And it is only when we become aware of who we are, in the purest sense, who we are, we can now choose our destiny. We can guide our lives simply by manifesting what we will want, what we don't want, consciously. And in understanding the conscious state, we understand as well what I want may not manifest in this life. because the stage has already been set to live this life. But because we understand the consciousness, we know that I can just simply manifest it at some other point in time. In the billions of years of existence of the universe and consciousness, 50 years is, or 100 years is nothing. But it is the lack of understanding of this karmic cycle which brings us into the concept of sin and desire and blessing, which is we try to now achieve everything in this life. And we consider the bad circumstances in this period of this life to be the end. That we do something bad in this life, we have to pay for it in this life. We do something good in this life, we have to pay for it in this life, which doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up that that's how it will work. Because if we do something in this life and the situation is done, then for us to repay that situation, a whole ecosystem of events must form in order for us to repay that one event. And if we are talking about a lifetime of events, let's say a person at 40 who has still 40 years to live, 40 years of events in order to reap the consequences of those 40 years of events. The system just can't be in place for you to reap the benefits or the losses from that. It has to take place at another point in time. So that's basically where I'm at on the whole concept of karma as a universal principle, not as a simple excuse for why things are in our lives. It is fundamentally a universal principle. It cannot only exist within such a short lifespan as a lifetime. So this is my thoughts on the idea of karma, the origin of karma, and not so much on what we can do about karma, but how we can better understand its concept. So that's my program for today. I hope I was able to inspire some people into contemplating the concept of karma. My name is Omkar, and this has been Diksha, and I will see you next time.